Ryouta Murakami, once a carefree boy who loved stargazing and talking about aliens with his best friend. Unknown to this lazy guy, his innocent quest and dire desire to find out more about aliens would take a turn he'd least expected. Unfortunately, his best friend was taken off the face of this planet, like my father when he went to get the milk and left Murakami with a few bruises. However, he vows to find aliens for the sake of his old childhood friend. But the farther he digs, the darker it gets. Murakami and Kuroneko were thicker than thieves, always playing with the telescope and gazing at the skies together. Kuroneko even claimed to have seen a real alien before and promised to show Murakami where it was hiding. However, their innocent fun took a dark turn one fateful day when they decided to climb a towering dam in pursuit of the alleged alien. In a tragically comedic scene that would make even the Three Stooges cringe, Murakami slipped, and I guess the guy said double it and give it to the next person because he grabbed Kuroneko's hand, sending them both plummeting down to my uncle's basement. When Murakami awakens in the hospital, delirious from the accident, he was told Kuroneko was alive and well at another hospital. But alas, those hopes were cruelly shattered when nurses eventually revealed the heartbreaking truth. Kuroneko's worthless self had died instantly from the fall. From that point on, Murakami's life was forever changed. The loss of his dear friend haunted him relentlessly, driving him to an obsession with proving the existence of otherworldly creatures. Honestly, he may just be searching for my ex. He vowed to pursue a career at NASA in hopes of somehow making it up to Kuroneko's memory. Well, not to be that guy, but it was your worthless self that eliminated her. Flash forward to high school, where Murakami is introduced as a brilliant but painfully awkward loner like yourself. Murakami is praised by his classmates for being the top juniors in the national mock exams they took. A girl named Kashiwagi-san also walks up to him and encourages him to be proud to be top in their class, but Murakami replies to her bluntly as usual. The boys question why he's always so cold to girls, but Murakami knows deep down in his mind that he can't just handle them. Just when things couldn't get any more cliché, a mysterious transfer student named Kuroha arrives on the scene. With her uncanny resemblance to Kuroneko and knowledge of future tragic events, Murakami can't help but wonder if this girl is his long-lost friend Reincarnated. In a gloriously cringe-worthy moment, Murakami frantically asks to see Kuroha's armpits in front of the whole class to confirm her identity, earning him very justified ridicule from his bewildered classmates. But the weird factor gets amplified when Kuroha seems to accurately predict a freak pool accident, and warns Murakami that his life is in danger too. As they talked about constellations, Murakami observed that she didn't even know her multiplication table. He questions her about how she got into the school without knowing her basics, but she replies that she has her ways and that even if he's smarter than her, it doesn't also mean that he's stronger. So they decided to arm wrestle. Kuroha beat him without any effort, leaving Murakami surprised. Despite Kuroha's prophetic advice to lay low at school, his stubborn idiotic self tempts fate by trekking home in the rain, only to narrowly escape his foretold death by mudslide thanks to Kuroha's timely rescue. It's at this point that she lets Murakami in on her jaw-dropping secret. She's a magician with powers to see into the future, as if that wouldn't be enough to shatter any rational person's worldview. But there are even more mind-blowing revelations in store. Kuroha shows Ryouta a scar along her neck, explaining that she's been on the run like my father from researchers trying to capture and exploit her supernatural abilities. This leaves Murakami wondering more than ever if this impossible girl could somehow be his long-lost friend Kuroneko after all. As Kuroha explains her shocking revelations to Murakami, she tells him that she doesn't want anyone to know that she's a magician. If anyone knew about it, she would be eliminated. She pleaded with him not to tell anyone about her powers. That being said, she walks away, warning him to stay away from her. She even clarified that she wasn't his childhood friend but a stranger to him. In a heartbreaking twist, we learn through Murakami's dreams that little Kuroneko tragically died before ever getting to see the ocean on a class field trip. My soul, it aches. No child should have their wanderlust cut so cruelly short. You can practically hear the tiny violins playing a solemn tune. Undeterred, our determined hero sets off to deliver Kuroha's transfer form. A fleet of armored self-defense vehicles rode past him. He wonders if something might have happened. Unknown to him, there was a girl strapped and chained in one of those vehicles. He stumbles upon an abandoned village where the magical girl is holding up. Among the dilapidated huts, he discovers not only Kuroha air drying her unmentionables, but also her crippled magician friend Kana-chan confined to a bed. In a moment, Murakami overhears Kuroha discussing the need to cut ties with him for his safety. Just who is this girl talking to? His jaw must have hit the floor when he spotted the unmoving Kana lying there. But surprisingly, Kana is very much alive and can communicate telepathically through little finger movements on a keyboard. As they discussed it, Kana broke the news to Kuhora that Kanade had been taken. Kanade was their fellow magic-wielding pal, now captured by those researchers hellbent on using them as lab rats. She was the girl in the self-defense vehicles that rode past Murakami on his way to the village. Kanade was also in the lab with them. She escaped, like Kuhora and Kana-chan. Kuhora tells Kana that they have to save her, but Kana believes that there's nothing they can do about it as it is too late. Murakami then hands over the form to her, explaining that she has to turn it in the next day. But she tells him that there was no reason for her to go to school anymore as she had saved the people who were supposed to die. Murakami was astonished. That was the reason she got transferred to the school. Kuhora narrated that for 10 years in the lab, she was always being experimented on. They never let them study anything. Murakami tries to convince her to resume school, but she won't. She also explained that she saved him from the mudslide accident because she couldn't let someone die knowing she could save them. In a twist straight out of left field, Kana also urges Kuroha to return to school and experience a normal life while she still can. You know, typical teenage stuff like cramming for exams, agonizing over who to take to prom, and trying not to die in freak accidents foretold by the magic oracle girl. Relatable. The next day, Murakami was surprised to see Kuhora in school. Kuroha struggles to simply read aloud in class before Murakami bails her out with some smooth improvisational skills. These two lovable misfits make an adorably awkward duo. But the laughs quickly turned to gasps when Kana called, informing her that a lady in red at the curry shop close by was going to boom in a car accident. They had just 15 minutes to save her, so they both hurried. They ran to the scene only to discover that they were late like my family to cookouts. But there weren't any casualties to their greatest surprise. Some minutes ago, as they ran, they bumped into the lady in red riding a bike. She had questioned them why they were in such a hurry. The timing worked out so the accident missed her. So while they inevitably missed the window to intervene, fate somehow reroutes the unsuspecting victim in a scene that leaves them shakily exhaling in relief. Later that day, Murakami brings some much needed light by spoiling the haunted Kuroha and Kana with cake and their first solid food in a decade. Murakami came in with food and cake for the girls. They were both grateful as they have been feeding on my grandfather's cooking with no seasoning. After they eat, Kuhora tells Murakami that she has finally decided to join them on the summer trip to see the ocean, and hopefully don't come across Eren over there. Back at school, Kuroha's frequent absences and mysterious bandaged injuries have her classmates' tongues wagging with gossip. But the poor girl remains tight-lipped about the circumstances, merely assuring Murakami she'll still make their long-awaited beach trip. Little do they know, the reason for her wounds cuts far deeper than a simple accident. In a chilling scene, Murakami arrives at the village to find Kuroha covered in red as Kana's anguished screams ring out. It's then that he learns the dark truth. Without a special pill to regulate their powers, the magical girls' bodies slowly dissolve from the inside out in an excruciatingly painful way. They have just 5 days worth of doses left, not nearly enough to make it to their beach dream in time. Despite their grim predicament, Kuroha maintains a remarkably hopeful spirit, insisting it's not Murakami's fault for giving her the idea of finally seeing the ocean. Her lifelong desire to experience such beauty outweighs even her physical suffering. Talk about an inspiringly brave trooper. You can't help but admire her perspective and resilience in the face of a heartbreaking fate. In a soul-crushing request, the clairvoyant Kana asks Murakami to bring them a cake for their final 5 days, a last grasp at making some happy memories together before the end. But the universe seems determined to deny them even that solace when a fire accidentally burns their remaining pill stash to ashes. Kuroha's sobs of anguish and guilt hit like a punch to the gut. Murakami tries to think hard if there's something he can do to help. He comes up with an idea and suggests that all they have to do is take some pills from the Dresden Takayama factory. He had memorized the drug identification codes earlier. They all decided to look up the drug and factory on the observatory's computer. They found nothing about the pills but found the location. The next step was to take a bus, but Murakami wonders how they'll get past security. Kana-chan then suggests that they call Kazumi. Kazumi, their friend, also ran away with them from the lab. She can do anything online. It was through her that Kuhora got transferred to the school. They finally agreed to call Kazumi to help bypass security codes, for a hefty cut of the precious pill prize, of course. Just when their high-stakes caper seems set in motion, Kana foresees a grim outcome where Kuroha will meet a fatal end. The stakes exponentially rise with the reveal of a deadly AA-rank hybrid agent named Sayori lying in wait to ambush them at the factory. Steeling themselves for an inevitable fight, the magical girls make a sacrifice play to split up and try disabling Sayori's powers. Their main issue was Sayori, as she was very dangerous and more powerful than them. Kuhora suggests that if her switch was flipped on a magician's harness, she'd lose the ability to use magic. Their plan was simple. Kuhara was to break in through the front door to draw Sayori's attention, then Murakami was to go in through the back, get behind Sayori, and flip the switch on her harness. Before they parted, Kuhara gave a letter to Murakami instructing him to read it when he entered the factory. Murakami opens Kuroha's letter and is gutted to realize she's deceived him, prepared to sacrifice herself as bait so he can escape with the precious pills for Kana and the others. His raw anguish at losing another loved one so unnecessarily has you gripping your seat tightly, breathlessly hoping he can change this tragic outcome. But in a shattering twist that no one saw coming, Murakami realizes too late upon confronting Sayori that this brave girl fighting for her life was his long-lost Kuroneko after all. The moles, the memories, every little detail clicks into place in a soul-crushing rush of tears and heartache. For one fleeting, glorious moment, it seemed like he was about to reunite with his lost childhood friend, until the ruthless hybrid unleashed her full destructive fury without hesitation. In one of the most brutally visceral, hard-to-watch scenes, Sayori mercilessly and graphically separates the two friends in a gratuitously violent way, leaving Murakami to crumple in despair as he's now lost his Kuroneko twice in the cruelest fashion imaginable. It's an absolutely soul-crushing, lingeringly haunting sequence as Kuhara's body is shattered all over the floor. In a moment of sending shockwaves through the core, Murakami makes a last-ditch, heroic effort to stop the ruthless Sayori's rampage by striking at her heart with lethal force from behind. But in a dark reversal that turns audience expectations on their head, the vindictive hybrid turns the tables by literally slicing our Murakami into pieces with her fearsome magic in a shockingly grisly display of violence. With death's cold embrace closing in, Sayori is confronted with a brutal choice: expend what's left of her powers to reverse the lethal timeline, or perish along with the lifeless Murakami in a cruelly ironic permadeath. In an unexpected glimmer of twisted mercy, she manages to turn back time just enough to preserve her own life at the devastating cost of fully depleting her magic powers. In a rare and deeply human moment amidst the escalating supernatural madness, Sayori knew right there that it was the end for her as she had failed to do her assignment. But Kuhara suggests that she should escape with them. Sayori replies that it isn't possible because the beacon attached to her harness is transmitting her location to the lab. The moment she makes a move to leave the factory, they'll eject her remotely. Murakami suggests that they should try to remove her beacon, but while he is about to attempt, Sayori decides to eliminate him with her bare hands, but it is too late for her. Sayori's hopes for fleeting salvation quickly turn to unimaginable tragedy when the ruthless researchers remotely detonate the explosive beacon surgically grafted to her harness, gruesomely melting her body to the ground right before our horrified eyes. In the chaotic aftermath of this bloodshed and screams, the magical girl squad manages to secure a couple of precious boxes of those life-preserving pills at what overwhelming cost. Murakami is left physically and emotionally shattered, a hollow shell of himself, while the resilient Kuroha bears the immense guilt and scars of feeling like her quest reached an impossible, tragic dead end after such unimaginable sacrifice. That's when the moment zigs yet again with a much-needed injection of light, as the morally ambiguous Kazumi briefly returns to selflessly split her own dwindling dose with the bedridden Kana, narrowly preserving the young girl's life in the nick of time. Through it all, Kuroha and Murakami's touchingly resilient bond as a found family only grows stronger, seemingly destined to blossom into something more than friendship, judging by Kuroha's heartfelt gratitude for Murakami's endless well of selflessness in the face of despair. Their long-awaited beach trip provides a gorgeous, sun-drenched reprieve for Kuroha to finally make her lifelong dream of seeing the ocean come true, a blissfully serene moment amidst so much angst and chaos. Kuroha must reconcile with the harsh reality that staying together only puts Murakami's life in grave danger from the ruthless researcher's crosshairs. Yet proving himself to be an endless pillar of kindness and inner strength, Murakami pledges to protect the magical girls no matter what nightmare scenario unfolds next. Could their fates be any more inescapably intertwined after everything they've been through? Well, I guess you've been through more with your ex. In the lab, Chief Ichiku was summoned by Takachiho. He informs him that it is dangerous to let witches run loose in town. 27 witches escaped during the transport. Through their efforts, 8 were recovered. They picked up 5 corpses after they ran out of pills. Most of the rest probably also decomposed due to a lack of pills. Chief Ichiku reminds him that their plan is too important to be delayed and that action should be taken immediately. Takachiho assures him that everything is going as planned. They had sent out a secret witch to spy on them in the astronomy club. And in one last explosive bombshell, this mysterious new girl suddenly worms her way into the astronomy club. She introduces herself as Takatori Katori, a newly transferred student. She tells Murakami that she wants to join the club. Unknown to them, this girl was the secret spy from the lab. The newly transferred girl seems to be excited to join the club. She told them that she didn't have any experience but that she should just be allowed to join. The veteran magicians welcomed her warmly, introducing themselves one by one as their mentor Murakami explained their deep fascination with the night sky. He reminisced about the previous year's awe-inspiring stargazing adventure high in the mountains. Inspired by the fresh-faced girl's wide-eyed wonder, Murakami proposed a camping star party to bond under the brilliant skies. However, he cautioned about the extreme cold awaiting them in the mountains, advising everyone to dress in plenty of warm layers. As the new girl slipped away and others wandered off, Murakami seized a rare private moment to delicately inquire about the consequences of Kuhora's powerful magic. Kazumi's grave response made Murakami's skin run cold. Kuhora risked permanently losing precious memories each time she wielded her abilities, a devastating reality. But far more harrowing was Neko's tragic revelation. Her entire childhood had been sacrificed to the cruelties of lab experimentation, leaving her without any recollection of her parents' faces. An uneasy silence fell over the cozy clubhouse as Murakami absorbed the weight of her words. Finally, the fateful camping day arrived, and the stargazers began their trek up the winding mountain trails. Ever the gentleman, Murakami insisted on carrying Kana-chan, while Kuhora couldn't tear her eyes from the increasingly starry sky. Her cosmic knowledge and ancient folklore surrounding the dazzling summer triangle constellation captivated Kazumi, tales from her, and the mysterious Kuroneko's youth. Murakami couldn't help but wonder, could this starry-eyed girl be his long-lost friend? Despite the bone-chilling temperatures at the mountain, the Inkai tapestry of the night sky set their spirits ablaze with wonder. They took turns marveling through the powerful telescope at distant galaxies, twinkling nebulae, and other sparkling celestial wonders. But one small detail threatened to snuff their joy and ignite panic. A garnet necklace glinted on the new girl's neck, branding her as an agent from the sinister lab they'd escaped. Kana-chan's dire forecasts confirmed the danger in their midst as mistrust began creeping in. The new girl's desperate pleadings and a dazzling display of teleportation magic couldn't shake their suspicions on the descent back to the observatory. Then the Kana's forecast changed. Murakami was fated to die at a nearby lake, a demise the well-meaning Kuhora must not attempt to prevent at any cost. They returned home reeling from the heavy knowledge. Another shock awaited in the clubhouse. The new girl tearfully confessed to being an escaped lab experiment. Her friend Chai-chan recently deceased under mysterious circumstances. Tensions mounted further with a frantic call that a deadly SS rank assassin was in the area, having already claimed 2 escapees in a ruthless attack. Determined to locate the threat, Kazumi hacked into the local camera systems only to discover the new girl had seemingly vanished into thin air. But his searching ultimately unveiled the assassin herself, Kikako, a canon magician capable of unfathomable destruction with a mere opening of her mouth. In an instant, the cameras broadcast the nightmarish scene in graphic detail. Kikako obliterated Shino in a blinding burst of power as Murakami and Kuhora watched in horror, utterly helpless to intervene. The joyous stargazing trip had collapsed into an inescapable pit of profound loss, gut-wrenching betrayal, and shattered youthful innocence. Mourning their fallen friend, they were left emotionally adrift and grappling with how their incredible magical abilities brought no immunity from the abject depths of human cruelty lingering beneath their environment. In the blink of an eye, tragedy struck as they failed to save poor Shino from her grisly fate. Kikako callously sauntered up and ripped the power-granting harness right out of the lifeless girl's body like a boss villain claiming a trophy. Understandably shaken, Kuroha made a move to avenge her fallen comrade. But the ever-sensible Murakami pumped the brakes. He cautioned her against throwing away her own life in an act of reckless vengeance that wouldn't bring Shino back. Their mysterious hacker ally Kazumi jumped on the line to bark out urgent orders. They needed to evacuate immediately before the cops inevitably arrived to harsh this magical girl party. Spotting their shady new friend Katori amongst the chaos, Murakami frantically waved her over to clue her in on his hasty plan to take down the dastardly Kikako. See, he'd noticed that Kikako's deadly beam attacks had a small window of lag time between firing and recharging, a tiny exploitable weakness. Kazumi obliged by working her techno-magic to block all police communications and declare the entire area hazardous, creating the perfect controlled arena for their showdown. You've got to admire that girl's flair for the dramatic. As Katori wandered off alone, Murakami uncovered her sinister gambit. She planned to bind herself as bait, then teleport poor Kuroha into the literal line of fire. Murakami tried valiantly to talk some sense into her, but she was too far gone on a dark path. Meanwhile, Kuroha found herself literally slipping and sliding underneath Kikako's relentless assault. Deciding to quit horsing around, Murakami ordered Katori to cut the crap and teleport them both to safety, stat. Shockingly, Katori pulled through, zapping herself and Kuroha out of harm's way just as our hero managed to flip Kikako's handy switch, depowering her. Talk about slick teamwork. They saved the day, or so it briefly seemed. In a dark moment, it turned out Katori had paid a heavy price, having forgotten her life-preserving meds to make this grand sacrifice play. As she lay fading, the poor girl poured out her tragic backstory about refusing to cruelly leech life force from her bestie on her birthday, only to lose said bestie in a brutal karmic twist. Chai-chan, her friend, had sacrificed her pills, but she had refused to accept. She didn't want to celebrate her birthday so badly that she'd shave time off of Chai's life to do it. But unfortunately, it was too late. She came back home and found her body full of red. She had refused to take the pill so she could live through her birthday. Chai had also transferred her to a high school so she could live the life she had always wanted. Chai made her promise to always smile even when she's sad. Katori admits she feels guilty for surviving by taking Chai-chan's life. Amidst Katori's revelation, Murakami insists that he won't let her die. He added that if the one freshman they had left, the astronomy club, would be shut down next year. With this, Murakami gives her the pills and promises to get more pills before they run out. She finally agreed to take the pills and everyone felt relieved. Turns out Bestie had set her up to finally live a normal life, making Katori promise to keep smiling through the darkness. In a heartwarming show of brotherly perseverance, Murakami wasn't having any of that Delulu fatalistic nonsense like our exes. He insisted Katori live on if only to keep their newly reformed astronomy club from disbanding. Flashing those big puppy dog eyes, he guilted her into accepting the remaining pills and vowed to somehow secure more doses with a new plan. Cutting to Murakami pondering how Kana's forecast had thrown them all for a loop, thinking Katori was a traitor when she'd just been a poor, tragic soul this whole time. Sounds just like To Be Honest. Determined to keep his crew of magical misfits alive, Murakami came up with a plan. He tells the girls that he knows someone they can talk to about the pills. Though he can be difficult, he can be trusted. His name is Kagoro. He finally met with him in his lab to discuss the possibility of getting the pills. At first, Kagoro told him he didn't believe in magic because it wasn't proven, but Murakami had brought Kohora to show him her magic. That's when Kagoro believed in what he told him and finally decided to listen to him. Ryouta Murakami and Kagoro sit facing each other as they converse. Ryouta asks for 2 favors from Kagoro. The first one, as he tells Kagoro, is to help duplicate a certain pill that he puts on the table. Kagoro puts his glasses on and picks up the pill, inspecting it. He asks to know what it is, and Ryouta explains that it is a pill that keeps magicians alive. Kagoro is not satisfied with the answer and asks Ryouta to explain it in detail. Ryouta then goes ahead to explain that it all started with a transfer student who saved him with her magic when he almost got killed by a mudslide. He adds that she looked exactly like his childhood friend, Kuroneko, who died in an accident 10 years ago because of him. After relating some more information to Kagoro, he then asks again if it would be possible to duplicate the pill. Kagoro says it will be a pain, but it is still possible. He then further explains that they would have to find out the active ingredients, analyze their molecular structure first, and look for a way to synthesize them. Ryouta is concerned about how long it'll take, and he is stunned as Kagoro mentions that it could take several years. Before Ryouta recovers from the shock, Kagoro hits him with another as he says to him that it will be impossible, as he just learned that Ryouta has just a month's worth of the pills left. Kagoro raises Ryuta's hope once more as he offers another solution that could see the process completed within a month. Afterward, Ryouta brings out another object and asks Kagoro to find out what it is, adding that he was told it contains a fertilized alien egg. Kagoro takes it and says he will hold on to the object and do as Ryouta has asked of him. Neko and the girls discuss the possibility of the pills getting duplicated. They all wish that it could be done and are also grateful to Murakami for giving them the hope to live. It's another beautiful day, and at school, Kazumi sees Murakami as he tries to get something from his locker. She goes up to him, smacks him softly on his head with her bag, and then, after a little chat with him, she hurries away. Kuroha is invited by Kashiwagi to karaoke. She doesn't know what karaoke is, but she agrees to go regardless. Later that day, she goes to find out from Ryouta what karaoke is, but ignorantly pronounces it as Maramuk. He corrects her and further explains what karaoke is. Kuroha is worried as she relates to Ryouta that she can't sing, but he does not agree with her. She then tells him that he will join her at the event, but again, Ryouta tries to make her understand that he can't just show up to karaoke uninvited. He then gives her some money, saying that she will need it. As the days ticked by, Kagoro delivered the crushing news. The pill's duplication would indeed exceed a month's time frame. Ryuta's determination remained unshaken, even as he broke the heartbreaking truth to the girls. Their quiet acceptance spoke volumes of the bond they shared. one forged in the fires of their extraordinary circumstances. In a bid to uncover the next piece of the puzzle, Ryouta and Kazumi went on a journey to the vibrant heart of Akihabara. Amidst the dazzling sights and sounds, they turned on the device gifted by Kuroha. As it whirred to life, a chilling message in German flashed across the screen: eliminate the magician immediately. A map accompanied the ominous words, sending Ryuta's mind reeling. The game had taken a dark turn, but he knew there was no turning back. With steely determination, he squared his shoulders, ready to confront the dangers that lay ahead, no matter the cost. The tattered map felt a heavy burden in Ryuta's hands, its faded lines mocking his determination. Beside him, Kazumi's eyes shone with fierce resolve. Though deciphering this cryptic clue seemed insurmountable, Ryouta refused to be deterred. The map was their only hope of finding the elusive pills, and he would stop at nothing to find its secrets. As they regrouped, Ryouta laid out the fragile parchment, explaining its gravity. Concerns about the dangers awaiting were raised, but Ryuta's conviction was unshakable. He would pinpoint the location and venture forth, with or without support. Late into the night, Ryouta pored over the enigmatic markings, the computer's glow illuminating his furrowed brow. A knock revealed Kazumi, uninvited but determined to aid his quest. Awkwardness ensued when she stripped, insisting on staying over Ryuta's protests. Ryouta isn't pleased, but he has no choice but to allow her to stay. Ryouta sets off the next morning. He is walking through a small path and he sees a church up ahead. On getting to the church, he discovers that it is in ruins and figures out that the destruction took place recently. He leaves immediately and heads back, and on his way, he decides to ask a lady he sees about the ruins. She doesn't give him a detailed response, so he heads back to the church to find clues. As he surveys the place, he is found by the police, who cuff him, saying he looks similar to my uncle. But as two officers take him to their car, it explodes with a loud bang. Ryouta turns and sees Kuroha, who was there to rescue him. Katori also comes through, as they both rescue Ryouta. They talk afterward, as both girls are not comfortable with the risk Ryouta is taking by going after the pills, saying he should at least allow them to help him. Meanwhile, some moments ago, when the incident with the police officers went on, one of the officers tried to call for backup, stating the issue, and the signal was intercepted by Chisato's camp. The issue is immediately reported to him and he decides to send Nanami to deal with the situation, as the plan is to find the girls. Kazumi wonders why Ryouta Murakami and the others have not gotten back yet. Kana interrupts Kazumi's statement, saying something about her being a blabbermouth, and it makes Kazumi jump on Kana and try to undress her. But just then, Murakami, Kuroha, and Katori walk in and see him struggling with Kana, who screams to them, saying that Kazumi was trying to saw her. Murakami tells them to chill out and then proceeds to tell Kazumi about the words he found at the destroyed church, adding that he thinks someone was trying to leave a hint. He adds that the words could be the password, as there is a space for it on the device, and at the same time, it would be necessary for the girls to head somewhere safer. The officers who caught Murakami back at the church's ruins are questioned by Kurofuku as their report about the appearance of the two girls, Kuroha and Katori, spreads. The chief does not give any helpful news to Kurofuku, as he maintains that he has no other information to give other than the one stated in their report. He goes further to inquire about what happened back there, asking if those were superpowers. Kurofuku then sets out into the city with Nanami, as he is instructed by Chisato. He decides to drive to a busy environment with many people, and as they get there, he orders Nanami to do her job, saying that she must do only as she was told to if she does not want to die. She affirms and exits the car. Nanami uses her powers to scan everyone in the area, then reports to Kurofuku that the people there are just tourists. He then decides that they check the places where the girls were recently seen. Nanami asks Kurofuku to get her ice cream, as she needs more sugar in her system for her magic to work well. They both get in Kurofuku's car and are headed to find clues, and as Kurofuku drives, he asks why Nanami usually lifts her skirt whenever she wants to perform her magic. She tells him that the only way her magic works on people is when they look at her, and the easiest way to get the attention of people is to hitch up her skirt. They decide to go to a busier place full of people. As they get there, Kurofuku tells her that if she lifts her skirt in that city, she will be reported to the police. But instead of heeding what he tells her, she takes off her clothes completely and gets to work at the same time, causing a little bit of chaos as she also wipes Kurofuku's memory by making passers-by attack him as she creates new memories in their heads. Kika was passing by at that time, and Nanami also tampered with her memory, causing Kika to ignorantly lead Murakami straight to her. As they both meet up with Nanami, Kika leaves, and afterward, Murakami figures out that Nanami is a magician, which leaves her a bit surprised. She planned to erase his memory as well. But Murakami was no fool. As Nanami's magic washed over him, he played the part of the befuddled victim, lulling her into a false sense of victory before slipping away to regroup with his allies. A magician was after them, he warned, showing Nanami's picture. They needed to find her, stop her, or flee the area swiftly. Nanami decides she isn't going to use her magic on anyone that day. She locates Kuroneko and asks him to give her some money, which he does after he asks that she show him her body first. As she goes around, Kazumi can track her down with her computer and alert the others. Nanami stops at a restaurant nearby to eat. Murakami, Kuroha, and Katori get to Nanami, who is surprised that Murakami still has his memories intact and asks if they will come through to fight her. Murakami then tells her that they were there to save her, but she does not believe him as she had tried to wipe his memories. Kuroha then walks up to her, takes her glasses off, and tries to convince her that they all had good intentions towards her, also adding that it would be nice if they all worked together. Nanami is stubborn and refuses to believe BS. She goes ahead to tamper with Kuroha's memories, causing her to go wild, saying she will protect Nanami by all means. Saying these, she attacks Murakami and Katori, but then Nanami is just able to go through Murakami's mind and find out that their intentions are genuine. Nanami quickly releases Kuroha from her magic before she causes more damage. She then tells them why she undid the magic on Kuroha. They promise to save her, as she says she doesn't wish to go back to the lab anymore. Meanwhile, Kuroneko is still wandering about the city as his memories have been wiped out by Nanami. He has no clue what he is doing at the moment. Murakami's uncle, Kogoro, visits them, and Murakami thinks it's the perfect timing, as he is just the person to help remove the beacon from Nanami. Murakami then shows Kogoro the object on Nanami's neck, explaining how it is to be removed and what would happen if it were forced out. Nanami narrates her ordeal at the lab to them, and afterward, Kagura informs them that they would need to start with X-rays if they were to play it safe, adding that he would call the university and ask that some preparations be made, but as he leaves, Kuroneko hits the eject button from his car, which he sat in, and almost instantly, Nanami collapses and decomposes. Everyone in the room could not hold back their tears as they watched this tragic turn of events. Murakami then walks up to Nanami's body and covers her with a shirt, instantly regretting why he didn't send her back to the lab instead, as she would have still been alive there. He kneels beside Nanami's lifeless body and weeps uncontrollably. Unknown to him, Nanami had implanted her memories on his own before then. But at the same time, she wiped every memory of herself off the memories of the others. The next day, they decided that after they checked their test scores, they would go to the ocean. They sat around a table, discussing school life as well. Their conversation takes a wild turn as Kazumi mentions kissing Murakami at the maid cafe back in the city they visited together, which upsets Kuroha, and she leaves. Murakami wonders where Kuroha had run off to, and he also tries to figure out what she was so mad about since he didn't kiss Kazumi directly. After a short walk, he finds her singing to herself about not caring if Murakami kissed anyone or not. He stops and listens to her, and as he is about to leave before she catches him eavesdropping, he mistakenly kicks an empty can, causing her to turn around immediately. He apologizes for spying on her. After a short discussion, which included him trying to convince her that he did kiss Kazumi but only shared her food using the same spoon she had used, she complained of being thirsty after singing, and Murakami hurriedly grabbed a bottle of water from his bag for her. Murakami then asks if she would love to go with him to karaoke sometime later, as he figures that she loves singing. He notices that she has forgotten what karaoke is and wonders if she will forget him one day as well. To her greatest surprise, he runs swiftly towards her and hugs her tightly. At school, the next day, Murakami and the girls go to check their test results. To their surprise, they notice that Murakami had fallen off the top spot. As planned, they all go to the beach to have a good time together. As they float in the ocean, a huge wave rolls towards them, causing a huge splash, but it causes no serious damage aside from the fact that Kuroha's swimsuit has managed to flee from her body, leaving her naked. They head back to the beach afterward and sit together, each of them acknowledging that they were all happy together there. Kuroha thanked Murakami for bringing her there, saying that she would love to come there some other time. Murakami agrees with her, saying that it would be nice if they all came down there together some other time. At Chisato's camp, the quest to find the girls continues as he holds a meeting to discuss his plan to use another magician, Valkyria, to easily make the plan work perfectly. Chisato is asked not to go ahead with his plan, as the magician, Valkyria, is more valuable than him, but he waves it off, saying that he has already sent her out and will take full responsibility for what happens later. A police truck pulls up close to where Valkyria stands and a handful of officers alight and run towards her. One of them informs her that they are there concerning the event which happened at the park earlier. He goes on to order that she put her hands behind her head and kneel, but instead of doing so, Valkyria creates an antimatter which causes a big blast, causing several casualties including people nearby. The explosion causes panic among people who watch from a distance. Valkyria, on the other hand, is so very thrilled by the destruction she has just caused. More policemen arrive at the scene of the blast as they try to figure out what might have caused the explosion. News about the explosion gets to Kazumi and the others, but the news only carries that a mountain had erupted causing a lot of casualties. Kazumi suspects that it could be Valkyria and Kana agrees, further explaining that Valkyria can use 8 types of magic. She also adds that Valkyria might know where they all are, which causes a bit of panic amongst them, especially Murakami, who looks somewhat terrified. Chisato is questioned by the council about the whole incident, as they believe it's too much of a situation to hide. They are disappointed as they expected better from Chisato. Hatsuna lights from a bus and looks at a prefecture which she holds. Earlier, when the explosion happened, she had overheard Valkyria speak to herself about 4 magicians hiding out at the observatory. Hatsuna had then decided to go looking for these magicians herself. She reaches a building nearby and she heads to the door, knocks and opens it. Hatsuna is welcomed by a terrible sight. Every single person in the room lay dead, the occupants of the room being Murakami and the girls. Hatsuna runs in and tries to find out if they are alive. Kazumi is the first person Hatsuna runs to, and as she turns her over, Kazumi slightly opens her eyes. Seeing that the intruder wasn't Valkyria, she stands up and calls on the others to do so as well, as they were only just playing dead, so Valkyria would just walk away if she saw them in that state. Murakami does not recognize Hatsuna, but the girls all do. Hatsuna then tells them that she was sent alongside Valkyria to recover number 1107, but assures them that Valkyria has wandered off elsewhere. Kazumi introduces Murakami to Hatsuna, describing him as their ally. However, Hatsuna does not really recognize Katori. The girls take their bath together as Hatsuna tells them more about herself, including her unique ability of surviving even if her body is cut in half or her head is crushed. They also tell her more about the brave Murakami, and she decides she would talk to him, or rather, test him. The next day, from the top of a mini tower where she sat, Hatsuna sees Murakami passing and she yells out to him, saying she is in danger and needs help. Murakami rushes down and climbs to the top of the platform to meet her. As Murakami gets up there, she intentionally throws herself off the platform. But then again Murakami catches and tries to save her, and through these actions, Hatsuna confirms that Murakami is indeed a good person, and afterwards she apologizes for testing him, also weirdly asking to date him. Murakami meets up with Kogoro and he is told about the progress of the pills. Murakami is so excited as he is told about the process, but his happiness is short-lived as Kogoro informs him that it would take up to a month to complete the process. Chisato meets up with Valkyria as well as he looks to sort out the mess she had made. Murakami heads back and the girls ask to know the progress of the pills making. They are disappointed as he adds that it would take up to a month. In a strange turn of events at that moment, Murakami discovers that Kuroha is actually Kuroneko, someone he had known for a very long time. Kuroha does not remember her childhood, but Murakami tells her not to worry as he remembers everything. Unfortunately, at that moment, Valkyria finds and appears at their hideout, causing a lot of panic and tension. Valkyria pays Murakami and the girls a surprise visit. She addresses Kuroha, who doesn't recognize her. Murakami asks if she is Valkyria, but she gets pissed at him, saying he should call her Mako instead. Just then, Chisato walks in and, to their greatest surprise, asks that Katori, whom he addresses as number 1107, follow them. He adds that he won't let Katori get away, stressing that her life belongs to him. In a bid to stop Chisato from taking Katori, Murakami walks up and pleads with Chisato, saying that he only wants to help the girls. A few minutes later, Hatsuna, who hid somewhere behind Chisato and Valkyria, crafts up a crazy idea. She plans to sneak up on Valkyria and take her by surprise. She moves to implement her plan instantly but gets herself killed as Valkyria strikes her down instead. The others are frightened and Murakami is furious as he gets up and demands to know why Chisato has decided not to let the girls live. Chisato responds, saying that by being alive, the girls pose a latent threat. He then orders Valkyria to eliminate everyone else there apart from Katori, but Valkyria objects as he reminds him that he had told her she wasn't supposed to eliminate Neko. Chisato is furious and reminds her of the consequences of disobeying his order, which she heeds, but as she is about to land the first strike, Katori jumps on her and asks the others to run. Neko does not run but steps in to challenge Valkyria, and Chisato orders that Valkyria destroy Neko immediately. Valkyria aims for Neko, but immediately Murakami jumps in and takes the hit. He crashes with a loud thud and the girls all rush over to him. Just then, Nanami appears and he begins to speak with her. The girls think he is hallucinating as a result of the red he lost. But he is just fine, as Nanami's consciousness in his mind is the reason why he can still speak to her. Nanami tells him that he can communicate with her by thinking. She further lets him know about some secrets that she had learned about at the lab, which included the girls and their powers. As Nanami vanishes from his head, Murakami relates what she told him to the girls, but then Chisato interrupts, ordering Valkyria to finish her job. Valkyria is about to finish them off, but then her powers cease to work. A group of people dressed in black, the Hexenjagd, walk in, and one of them, who appears to be their leader, addresses Chisato and also reveals why Valkyria's power no longer works, which is because the initializer was with them. Chisato pretends to listen and immediately takes out his gun, aims and shoots at one of the newcomers, and flees, taking Katori with him. The girls notice that Murakami's heart has stopped and they weep even more, but just then, Hatsuna, who is healed, walks in and tells them that she could help revive Murakami, but she will melt in the process. She gets to work and succeeds in healing Murakami's wounds, and like she said, she begins melting. Kazumi and Neko try other means to get Murakami back alive, and they succeed, but then the Hexenjagd group walks up to them and informs them that they came down there to eliminate every magician. Murakami and the girls are told the reason behind the decision to eliminate the magicians as well, adding that Katori is the most dangerous of them all. Another member of the group also adds that they were all part of the lab but later discovered their evil aims and raided their transport vehicles so they could eliminate Katori, but their plan failed. After listening to their story, Murakami stands up and faces the Hexenjagd, saying he would not allow them to do anything to the girls as he does not see them as threats. The Hexenjagd finally agreed not to touch the girls but to find Chisato, and Murakami informed them that they would all help find his hiding spot. Kazumi successfully pinpoints Chisato's location and relates it to the others, and they decide to set out at once. They were a little too late, as the disaster they were to prevent had already happened. But hope was still in their midst. The chopper in which they came landed a few clicks away from the scene. The Hexenjagd leader says it's too late, as the deed has already been done. Seeing this, Murakami decides that they will go in with or without the help of the Hexenjagd group. Murakami, Neko, and Kazumi run toward the scene, with Murakami leading the way. Suddenly, he is struck from behind by the girls and he crashes onto the floor. As he lay there unconscious, Neko apologized, saying he shouldn't be the one risking his life, which is why they tried to knock him out. Kazumi adds that they will be back after saving Katori. Meanwhile, back where Katori is held, Chisato goes on and on about Katori being useless to him and also tells her that he would take the mechanism off her, which he would use for more of his evil deeds on other magicians. Katori decides she won't let it happen and ejects herself, saying she would prefer dying to save everyone else. The Hexenjagd group, who were still outside, noticed the Ain Software vanishing from the sky and figured out that something must have happened to number 1107, Katori. As Neko and Kazumi navigate their way through the facility looking for Katori, they run into Chisato and Valkyria, who are headed in a different direction. Yelling at them to stop, they both run up to Chisato and ask to know where Katori is. Chisato wastes no time, as he immediately informs them that Katori is dead. The girls don't believe him, but Valkyria confirms it, adding that Katori ejected herself. Chisato points out to Kazumi and Neko that Katori's death was meaningless to him and it makes Kazumi furious, but he does not care as he walks away, asking Valkyria to handle both of them. Valkyria tries to take Neko with her and strikes Kazumi down in the process. Murakami is now conscious and finds his way into the building, but he doesn't know which way to go. Nanami appears and guides him to the place where Katori's lifeless body lay. Well, not lifeless, as she could still speak to him. Katori dies and Murakami can't hold back his tears, but again, Nanami appears and speaks some words of encouragement to him. He then leaves to search for Neko and Kazumi and finds both of them unconscious. Kazumi can speak and narrates what happened, urging him to leave immediately and save Neko. Murakami heeds and sets off, Nanami guiding him. Valkyria takes Neko Kuroha to Chisato, but Murakami arrives just in time and jumps on Chisato before he can eject Neko. A fierce battle ensues, but Neko and Murakami are almost powerless against Valkyria. To everyone's surprise, Kana steps in and helps Neko as she nullifies Valkyria's magic powers and also saves Murakami. Neko gains back her memories in the process. Neko Kuroha faces Valkyria, her magic proving too powerful for Valkyria as she sends her crashing onto the ground. Valkyria refuses to be defeated and tries to aim for Neko again, but her magic is neutralized by the Hexenjagd group, who have just arrived at the scene. They shoot at Valkyria, but Chisato shields her with his body and gets eliminated. Valkyria's anger is triggered and she vows that she would rather destroy everything than live without Chisato. She begins creating the antimatter and there is panic as they all know what the antimatter could do. Neko then says she is capable of destroying the antimatter that Valkyria was creating, and before she goes after Valkyria, she kisses Murakami passionately, saying she had always wanted to kiss him. Neko successfully neutralizes the antimatter and comes back unconscious. She almost falls off a cliff as she lands, but Murakami is quick enough and saves her. Murakami is confused yet again as Neko does not know who he is. Kagoro leaves a message for Murakami asking him to bring everybody, as they have made significant progress on the pills. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below and make sure you are subscribed. I'm out.